hello and welcome to Screenland. My name is Brian Lloyd. Busy show this week. Very, very busy show. I have 2 movies and I have a TV show to talk to you about. Jenn Gannon, the luminous, the vociferous, I can't think of a third adjective. Jenn Gannon is on and she picked And Just Like That. Now, I mentioned it in the interview. I'm just gonna top load. I'm gonna front load this right out at the top. Gonna say I didn't watch any of And Just Like That. Now, as you will hear in the interview, there was a reason. And to be fair, the vibe that I got from Jen's interview was that she wished she hadn't watched it either, because it was terrible. But having said that, like, I've been thinking about this and this like idea of like we're not really at a place anymore where I'm just gonna launch into it now. Where like there was I saw a piece, I think it was either the Atlantic or it was the National, I can't remember. It was somewhere. I'll find it. But it was basically about how everyone is watching films, or a lot of people, or maybe they aren't. Who fucking knows? Maybe it's all bots. But like clipping of films and TV shows is a huge thing on TikTok now, right? And that Hollywood is trying to figure out a way of monetizing it, basically. And, you know, like it's this thing of I don't want to be complaining right off the top, but you know, why not? It's this thing of like it's not about diminishing attention spans, because that I don't think that's true. You know, like One Battle After Another, which is one of the movies that's out this week, is like 20 minutes shy of 3 hours, right? And that thing just fucking zips. I mean, it goes. And I did not feel that 3 hours at all. And we're coming from a culture of like, you know, Netflix and Prime Video and where it would be completely normal for you to sit down and watch a TV show, 3 episodes of Breaking Bad or And Just Like That, or any TV show. You'd watch it for 3 hours, no problem. So why wouldn't you watch a movie for 3 hours long? You know, that sort of way. So like, but why then clipping then? I mean, clipping is really just like, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they are aware of this. But like most of those kind of clipping accounts that you see, they're usually like bot generated. They're usually coming from, you know, what do you call it? Farming accounts, you know, that sort of way. They're basically just there's like 100 clips on that one account before it gets a copyright strike, and there's no order to any of the films that are there, you know, that sort of way. It's literally just they'll take random clips out of nowhere and just plonk it up, and then whatever one kind of gets traction with the algorithm, And like, I believe it or believe it not, I don't have a problem with clipping necessarily, right? Because, you know, I've seen enough of, I've been scrolling through TikTok or whatever, and I've seen something. I was like, oh shit, I haven't seen that in years. I should go watch that. Like, one that I saw, and I don't know why it was served to me, but it was Boston Legal with James Spader and William Shatner. And I was like, oh fuck yeah, I remember that. Well, yeah, I enjoyed that. Went back and watched an episode of it, and it was shit. But, you know, it tickled... It triggered something for me to go watch it. So like, if I was Lionsgate, or if I was Columbia Pictures, or if I was whomever, I'd be like, yeah, okay, let's do clipping. Let's put up some clips of old movies, and hopefully that'll trigger people to go rent it, or to go buy it, or to just go watch it again, or something, you know, that sort of way. So like, there's nothing really wrong with it necessarily, but this idea that like Hollywood then has to shift its creative output to suit clipping is total bullshit. Is just complete and utter bullshit. And it's so fucking obvious, isn't it, that it's like they are so panicked. It's all over. It's all done. We've got to, you know, shift towards TikTokification. We've got to shift towards, you know, short format comedy sketches and all the rest of it. And, you know, the reality of it is that people are just shifting to the reality as opposed to dragging reality to this, if you know that, if you know that sort of way. Also, by the way, I have to point this out. Oh God. So somebody, I don't know who, and I'm not naming it. There was it was obviously like a username and I couldn't read it or whatever, but somebody left a review on Apple Podcasts. First of all, thank you for doing that. I really, really appreciate it. This is literally just me doing this. So, any kind of feedback at all is really, really welcomed, and I really, really do appreciate it. Now, for anyone who is working in media and perhaps, or maybe you're interested in working in media and you just want to know more about it, or maybe you're a little nosy little fecker. I don't know. Whatever. There is this thing, right, that if you are a broadcaster or if you are, if you work in this field, right, there is a thing called a bridging phrase, right? What is a bridging phrase? A bridging phrase is essentially where you will say something and kind of, it's sort of repetitive, a repetitive phrase to basically give your brain, or give your mouth rather, a chance to catch up with your brain. Okay? So I have two. I have two of them. I fully admit it. I fully admit I do this. My brain rarely, if ever, catches up with my mouth. In fact, that's why I have to pause and go use the word like. But my real bridging phrase is, that sort of way. And this person commented, and again, like, it was a positive, like he said very nice things. I'm very appreciative. I really appreciate it. But, love this show, and Brian, that way, Lloyd. Thank you. I do say that a lot. My wife and I were, because I don't listen, okay, right, full disclosure, I don't listen back to the show. I put it out and that's it, I don't listen back. But I had done, it was the suggestion box episode. I should do another one of those, by the way. And I was worried about the sound quality of it. And we were driving out to the beach with our dog, Eddie. And and I was saying to my wife, I said, look, listen, do you mind if I just listen back to this while we're on the way? I just want to make sure that the audio was okay, because I did it audio only and I was kind of doing it in a rush and blah, 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 blah. And she heard it. She heard, that sort of way. And she was actually counting out in like a 35-minute episode. She was counting it out. I said it 6 times. 6 fucking times, right? So I do it. I say it a lot. I admit it. I am sorry. It's a bridging phrase. Another bridging phrase I have. And again, we're talking about like, people counting shit, right? Adam Kinsella. Shout out to Adam Kinsella, who worked on Ireland AM. He's off traveling the world now at the minute. He told me once, that fucker, that in the gallery of Ireland AM, they had an over and under about how many times I would use the word essentially. And again, fully admit it, I don't even hear myself using it. You know, that kind of way? There you're like, fuck, I just did it. Oh, God. It's like, but it's like, yeah, I if I could stop it, I would stop it, right? If I knew I was saying it, I would stop it. It's just a part of my, I don't know, fucking, oh God, it's just a part of the speech patterns. I don't know. Anyways, thank you for that review, Grogsy81. I really appreciate it. And if you want to leave a comment or a subscription, that would be great. You can do it on Apple Podcasts. You can do it on Spotify. So yeah, thank you for that. Okay, enough of that shit. Let's get into it. Let's start with one battle after another. Paul Thomas Anderson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro, Sean Penn, right? Chase Infinity, Tiana Taylor, based on Vineland by Thomas Pynchon. Full disclosure, have not read a Thomas Pynchon book. Tried to read Inherent Vice. Stopped after about 40 minutes. My brain was turning into worms. And like, you know, as I was watching one battle after another, I definitely got the sense that, well, first of all, Paul Thomas Anderson is one of the greatest writer-directors working today. That may seem like a fucking lukewarm take. That might be as tepid as Vichy Soir, but it is the truth. He is one of the best directors and writers working today. And watching one battle after another, it was kind of hilarious how I thought that I was like, this is so on the nose. This is so fucking speaking to the moment in America and where everything's at. And then I discovered, actually, no, he'd been trying to get this made for the last like 10, 15 years. And that Vineland itself was written in the 90s, and it was about 60s revolutionaries. But it's brilliant. I mean, it's really, really good. I mean, it's like I said, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. I did not feel a fucking minute of it because once it starts, it just goes. Leonardo DiCaprio is so versatile in this. He's playing this like kind of like aging stoner revolutionary who, you know, has kind of mellowed with the years. You know, he's a young daughter played by Chase Infinity. She's brilliant, by the way. She's going places. But he's living with her kind of, you know, in hiding. And when Sean Penn's character was this military police officer that Tiana Taylor, who is Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriend, partner, wife, mother of his child, they have an encounter. A very weird, funny, sexualized encounter, Tiana Taylor and Sean Penn, right? Where she kind of humiliates him, but he's into it. Doesn't matter. He becomes obsessed with Tiana Taylor. And years later, like 16 years later, Sean Penn's character is about to be inducted into this white supremacist group that is kind of at the heart of the American government. And they're called the Christmas Adventurers Club, which is just so fucking silly. You know, but it kind of speaks to the whole kind of bullshit, you know, fraternity, skull and bones, the fucking gilet bullshit that, you know, American elite have, you know, and these stupid titles that they all have, like Grand Imperial Wizard and all this shit. But anyways, he's about to be inducted into this white supremacist group. And one of the kind of the questionnaire that he gets is like, you know, have you ever had a relationship with a person not of your own race? Have you ever sired a child not of your race? And he's like, nope, of course I haven't. But it turns out that maybe he has, because he thinks that Chase Infinity's character is his daughter. Spoilers, by the way. Sorry, fuck. So then it's basically him trying to hunt down his daughter, and in the process get after Leonardo DiCaprio, who was like a member of this revolutionary group called the French 75. Benicio del Toro is like this sort of community leader that he's pally with. He's called the Sensei, and he's training Chase Infinity to do karate and stuff like that. It's really funny. Like, it's really, really funny in that kind of macabre sort of, I can't fucking believe this is happening. This is so stupid. And again, it's that thing of like, you know, it's very Thomas Pynchon, because like, you go back and watch Inherent Vice, and it talks about like, you know, the stupidity of fascism, and how like Josh Brolin's character is this like flat-topped, you know, truncheon, you know, cop, but he also does ads for, you know, property development in California, and then has this weird homoerotic scene where he's eating like a frozen banana, and Joaquin Phoenix's character is kind of looking at him being like, dude, you're kind of enjoying that a bit too much. You know, it's funny. And there's a lot of that in this as well, where it's that weird kind of humor of like, huh? What the fuck? And like even Sean Penn as well, like his casting, like they did this in Licorice Pizza, right, where they really sort of leaned into this idea of Paul Thomas Anderson is aware of the fact that Sean Penn is maybe Paul Thomas Anderson is aware of the fact, and I'm reading into this, he's aware of the fact that he's a bit of a goon, that he's kind of a bit pathetic, that like, you know, he's jacked up on HGH and wearing these shirts that are way too small for him, and, you know, is chasing after 25-year-olds and all the rest of it. And, you know, they did it in Licorice Pizza and they kind of do it again in this, you know. It's just very, very funny. It's just very like, oh fuck, like, is he in on the joke? Is he aware of it? Is Sean Penn aware of the fact that they're making fun of him? Are they making fun of him? Or is he just kind of like, yeah, I get it. I know how I'm being perceived. Kind of like the way that Nicolas Cage is like, people think I'm not in on the joke, you know? Leonardo DiCaprio, like, he's able to play a stoner very, very well. Benicio del Toro, he has that real, like, kind of fatherly screen presence. And just, yeah, it has a great soundtrack. The action is so good. It's so propulsive. It's so interesting to see Paul Thomas Anderson, a director who is known for Phantom Thread and Boogie Nights and Licorice Pizza and fucking Magnolia, to see him do like a really kind of like ballsy action movie. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, I've always been curious to see what he would do if he was told to go make Heat. What would he make it look like? Not that this is anything like Heat, but I'm just saying an action movie. What would he do with it that has a bit of depth? What would he do with it? And this is it. Yeah, so I really, really enjoyed this. The way the American critics, like I saw David Ehrlich was saying it's one of the best films of the last 10 years. I think that's a bit of high praise, to be honest. I think the American critics are probably vibing with it more because they're living it, whereas we're all watching it. And it doesn't feel too much like a distinction between reality and this reality as a European, as an Irish person watching it, but as an American, to see it reflected back, you know, it's that sort of thing of like, well, we're not crazy. People see it. We're seeing it on screen. It's real now, you know? So yeah, that's one battle after another. Definitely recommend it. Another film I want to recommend that's in cinemas this week is called The Dead of Winter. And I'll be very brief on this. Brian Kirk is directing this. He previously did a film called 21 Bridges, which is this fucking class genre exercise with Chadwick Boseman, where he plays this, you know, hard-driving New York cop that closes down New York over one night and is hunting these two robbers. One of them is played by Taylor Kitsch. And, you know, he's basically hunting them down in New York, all while trying to uncover a conspiracy that links NYPD cops into it. It's brilliant. It's like one of these like really cool mid-range budget movies that they just don't make anymore. Dead of Winter is a similar vibe. You can tell that it was made with not a huge amount of money, but that the script and the performances in it are so fucking great. It's a real pot boiler. And I mean that not as a dig at it at all. Emma Thompson and Judy Greer are in it. Emma Thompson plays this Minnesotan fisherwoman who her husband has just died, and she's basically doing ice fishing on her own for the first time in years, and she's kind of, you know, going through a little bit of stuff. Judy Greer plays this nurse who's dying of a disease that, you know, we don't get into it, but she there's a young girl basically that Judy Greer and her husband, or her character's husband, have kidnapped, and they're planning to basically harvest her organs and sell it in Canada, I think it is. And Emma Thompson's character just happens upon it. I've seen a few people kind of like try to compare this with, Fargo, and it's like it's good, you know, it's good. It's a good comparison, but it's more than that, and it's less than that. Like Fargo had a lot of like dark humor to it, and it was very kind of a moralistic story about good and evil and all the rest of it. Whereas Dead of Winter is basically just, this is a thriller. This is a 90-minute thriller. This is just go, go, go. You know, we know enough about all of the characters. We don't need to delve too deeply into the idea of the morality of it. It's just bad. What they're doing is bad. Even though they're desperate, even though Judy Greer's character is suffering herself, it doesn't make what she's doing right. You know, that sort of way. God, I'm trying to stop myself. But no, this was fucking great. And Brian Kirk, he's a Northern Irish director. He's primarily known for he did a lot of TV. Like, he directed like some of the big episodes of Game of Thrones, and like I said, he did Twin Bridges. I love this. This is great. I really, really enjoyed this. This was so tightly written. I love a good pot boiler. Like, Sneakers. Robert Redford's Sneakers. That's a fucking pot boiler. Taking a Pelham 123. The 1974 version. Total pot boiler. The novel was like a cheap, pulpy, crank it out kind of jobby, and became this huge hit, this huge publishing hit, and then they made the movie. And it was a total pot boiler. They can be brilliant. You know, that kind of way. It is an example of craft, not an example of art. And yeah, I loved it. Final thing I want to get on, and then I swear we're going to talk to Jenn Gannon after this. House of Guinness on Netflix. Okay. I will freely admit I was not a fan of Peaky Blinders. So, this is written by Stephen Knight. It is set directly after the death of Sir Benjamin Guinness. It follows his children as they try to secure the what do you call it? The sort of, oh God, what are you talking about? Like, they're basically trying to figure out who's going to run Guinness, the brewery, and they're trying to expand it and all the rest of it. And Anthony Boyle is in it. Louis Partridge is in it. James Norton is in it. Jack Leeson is in it. David Wilmot is in it. Michael McElhatton is in it. Great Irish cast. You also have great Irish music. 2 Kneecap songs in it. Fontaine's DC. The Scratch. Great Irish music in it. It's very, very Irish, but it's very brash. It's very loud. It's got a budget. It is about as subtle as a fart in a bathtub, right? It is as subtle as a Guinness fart in a bathtub. Ha ha ha. This was never going to be for me, and that's okay. I think it might be for you if you liked Peaky Blinders, if you liked, that kind of, really loud, really brash kind of style that it had. You're going to love this. And who doesn't love, that really kind of ballsy kind of aesthetic, that sort of way. I didn't vibe with it necessarily, but I know this is going to be a hit. This is going to be huge. And Netflix are throwing everything behind this, and well, they should. I do think, though, and maybe this is just, again, me reading into this too much, I don't know, but it felt very overstuffed. It felt like they were trying to throw everything into this season because Netflix being Netflix, they're not sure if this is going to see another season. If this doesn't hit, there won't be a second season of it. So it felt like they were trying to front load everything into this season, and it felt a little bit hard to follow at times. And also as well, there are certain points in it where it's like, okay, wow, we are really going into the, stereotypes, aren't we? It's like Jack Leeson turns up. He was a great actor, a very, very intelligent actor, a very, very intelligent person, right? And he turns up and he is literally the walking, talking version of that fighting Irish mascot that Notre Dame has. Like, it's literally like, put up your dukes. Like, it's fucking hilarious. And, maybe I'm thinking in it now, I'm thinking, okay, his character goes off to America to sell Guinness, and maybe it's him sort of yucking it up as a commentary on it. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, It's out. It'll be out on. This is going out today. This is going out today, Wednesday. This will be out on Thursday. I actually think I might be breaking embargo. Oh no! Oh no! God, I'm gonna get in so much trouble if this turns out to the embargo. But I can't see any. Was there an embargo? Fuck. Oh, I don't know. Anyways, look. There you go. So it's House of Guinness. It's out on Netflix. I think all episodes are available on Netflix from Thursday, so enjoy that. Okay, enough yammering. Let's get on to it. Jenn Gannon is our guest this week. Her pick was And Just Like That. Here is that interview. Jenn Gannon, writer, journalist, producer, broadcaster. In the spirit of full disclosure, right? In the spirit of full disclosure, I did not watch a single episode of this. We were talking about And Just Like That. Now, the reason why I didn't watch it, okay, is because some of the best critical writing I think I've seen in the last 5 years was people ripping the shit out of this show. You were one of them.
It became a thing.
It became a thing, and you used a term to describe this show, which I have quoted time and time again to other people. It fucking cracked me up. You called it a gas leak of a show.
It is a gas leak of a show because you feel like there was a genuine gas leak in that writer's room.
Yeah.
There had to have been because there was the plot lines that went nowhere constantly. So you have 3 seasons of several plot lines just going nowhere, or
right.
Characters just acting like they've had a full-on lobotomy and have just changed their personality overnight completely to be people that we don't recognize. And the thing is, like, I love Sex and the City so much. Like, I would say it's probably, if not my favorite TV show, it's the one that's in my brain.
Yes.
Constantly. Like, I could quote it. I know certain scenes. I could tell you everything that Carrie is wearing in a certain scene. As a woman of a certain age, when we were growing up when it started on Channel 4.
Oh, yeah.
It was the most exciting thing ever because you're getting, like, an insight into this glamorous world that you didn't know about. Did it influence me to become a writer a bit? I don't know. Maybe.
Almost famous for me, but go on.
I just thought, you're going to sit in your pants loads and tap away on your laptop and smoke loads of fags and look amazing.
I couldn't help but wonder.
Exactly. And like, you're just going out every night. And I think a lot of girls, women felt the same.
Oh, yeah.
Watching it. And there's something about it. Like, there was a reality to it.
Sure.
Base level. But then there was this gorgeous kind of fantastical nature to it that you hadn't seen on TV, I think, since it reminds me of like good 70s films in some way, the women's film that you don't have anymore, or like there's a touch of the broadcast news about it sometimes because it's about women and work and women in the workplace and women thriving in the city. And, who doesn't want... You love that classic Valley of the Dolls Ascension story about, like, gals in the city and what are they getting up to? And it just looks so exciting now. And just like that, completely different prospect.
See, this is it, right? I'm glad you said 70s because I've seen a good few episodes of Sex and the City, and the one film that I could kind of compare it to was Shampoo.
Yes, love Shampoo.
Yeah, well, Warren Beatty and, very kind of like free sort of sexy 70s, very kind of like louche and, just kind of like everyone, like, people are just going through their lives and all the rest of it. And it's glamorous and it's gorgeous and it's a little bit of a heightened reality, but at the same time has a kind of, I would say, an emotional foundation.
Yeah, there's like an emotional register to it because I think at that time you had a writer's room that was full of women who were living these lives.
Yes.
There's great female writers for Sex and the City like Cindy Chupak and Jenny Bix. And they would like literally say that they would come into the office and they'd have this board and they'd have all the characters' names written on the board, and then they'd have like their connecting, their A stories, their B stories. But some of those squares were blank and they would just go tell all girls, like, you had a date last week, what was it like? And some of the biggest storylines, like the big foundational episodes that we might know and love, like say when Carrie didn't want to marry Aidan, which I found fascinating because you don't usually see that on TV, that she wasn't buying into the bride aesthetic.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm missing the bride gene. And, you know, she tries on a wedding dress, a horrible wedding dress, and gets hives. She literally gets hives. So that was one of the writer's own experiences about turning down her long-term boyfriend when he proposed to her, which is an amazing story. Then you also have A Woman's Right to Shoes, which is the episode where Carrie's shoes get stolen at a baby shower, effectively. And it's all about like women of a certain age who choose not to have children, what do they do with their money and how that's scrutinized. These all came from real stories. And you could tell that. You could definitely tell that watching it. And I think that level of reality was completely absent from And Just Like That.
Now, we're on to it. Now we're getting into it. I saw the 2 films, believe it or not.
Me too.
Yeah.
We suffered through them. I don't believe they exist. They're not in my canon in Sex and the City world universe.
So I guess what my question is right. I mean, if the show was as groundbreaking and as formative for a generation of women, and you know, it was. I mean, even just in terms of the industry, the fact that like Sarah Jessica Parker made the leap from movies back to television, and she really. I mean, you could argue Kyle MacLachlan kind of started it with Twin Peaks.
Yeah, but she was the one that kind of like, it was the golden age of television almost. So just before The Sopranos, there was Sex and the City. So it was about how can we make TV more like film.
Right. So having said that, why were the films so shit?
Because Michael Patrick King, I'm going to lay the blame at this man's
go
door
for it,
completely. Because I think what happened was he took the wrong message from what the fans wanted. Fan service is always a really dangerous thing to get into, I think, as well. And I think he lost a lot of the female writers and took over the show, took over Sex and the City as his own brand.
Right.
And I think, like, when they introduced Alexander Petrovsky at the end of Sex and the City season 6, who I think Carrie should have ended up with. I know this is contentious. I'll do my own thoughts about that some other time. But it introduced... Yes, because they're both insufferable in different ways.
But
he's pretentious. He wouldn't let her away with anything. He was the only one that asked her to be like an adult and try and focus herself like an adult. He didn't. She had other little one-liners ready for him when they went on their first date, and he was like, "It's not impressing me." And then at one point she goes, "So I'm a writer," and he kind of goes, "So what? Like, big deal." I enjoyed that back and forth because she didn't have the upper hand at all, and there was a nice realism to that and tension to it. But Mr. Big, unbelievably loaded, as we know, but almost felt he was rich, but in a way that you could imagine a person becoming rich. Yeah. She's like, oh, you work in stocks and whatever. Like,
you're leveraged.
Well, it was vague.
Yeah.
He did have a lot of money. Yes, we knew that. There was that amazing, that like when she goes in to ask him for the money, and that felt weird, obviously, but
and uncomfortable, and
I liked that.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
enjoyed that. I mean, and people fight about that episode forever because they're like, Charlotte should never have given her that ring, blah blah blah. I liked that. I liked that whole episode. I find it enjoyable because it's about basically about class, and we don't talk about class enough in TV shows like that, and glamorous TV shows like that. And Carrie, she's the worst sometimes. She would beg for the money in a way. Like, I mean, Mad Men did it a bit. I was going to say Mad Men is the only show that I can think of that actually addresses class in such a ballsy way. But at the same time, you forgive Don Draper for a lot of the things that Carrie Bradshaw is not forgiven for.
Yes, but that's, isn't that true of all? Isn't that true that men will get the pass and women don't?
Completely. But what I meant was that with the introduction of Alexander Petrovsky, he has unlimited amounts of wealth, it would seem.
Yeah.
He can, he's a massive in the art world. He's a big artist. He has an apartment in Paris. He has a place in New York that's palatial. It became like a fantasy. And she says it in one of the final episodes. She's like, I want to live my fantasy. That's what Michael Patrick King took from that entire 6 seasons and put it into the 2 films. He's like, what women want is the fantasy. They want
the fashion.
All they care about is the shoes and the bags and the dresses. And it became not about the integral, what is the relationships of these women together. Okay. And that carried through to And Just Like That.
Well, now that's what I was going to say. Do you think, and again, like I said, I haven't watched any of the episodes. However, I have read enough of the reviews and comments and all the rest of it that I get a sense of what it was about. Now, my question is, do you think it was and just like that was done. I was like, okay, we had the fantasy, like they went to Dubai, you know.
Gross. They went to like the Saudi Arabian. Like, I mean, it's just, it was a big ad. It was so disgusting.
It was so fucking transparent.
And then that whole thing where they're like, oh, cheers to the help, which I think is one of the worst things that has ever happened in cinema ever. Tone deaf.
But what I'm saying is do you think then when they came to do and just like that, it was like, okay, you know, these women are now approaching middle age. You know, the whole sort of free, easy, sexy and single, you know, it's not that it doesn't work, but it's more sort of like, okay, these women have got mileage on them now. And I'm not saying that, I mean it in the sense of like, you've got experience.
Lived a life.
They've lived a life. There's experience.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I mean, I think the misstep was the fact, I wanted it to be this guide into my 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like, the misstep was they had to keep on grounding Carrie in a relationship. And that's not what we want from Carrie. We want her to be single, and we want to see her go through what life would be like post. I say, yeah, kill Mr. Big. That's fine. I had no problem with that. I was actually like, good for you.
That's ballsy.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we know why eventually that happened, because he's not a nice person apparently. But anyway, but also I just thought...
Was that ever in doubt though? I mean, I've watched an episode, like, he was a prick.
Yes, but yeah, I liked
he was a
him.
charming prick.
I enjoyed him as a character as well. We kind of came a bit to whatever, just not as interesting the more it went on. I liked when he was just treating her like shit, because there was a lot to learn from that, and you could see, you're like, oh yeah, that's relatable, or I wouldn't do that.
Like,
but...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, when they killed him off, I was like, that's grand. I have no problem with that.
Well, I wanted to see her as a widow.
That's it.
Hello. They gave her 5 minutes of being a widow. And if you're a Housewives fan, you have somebody like Carol Radziwill, who I feel is very closely related to Carrie Bradshaw. She'd be like the Carrie Bradshaw of Housewives. They could have explored what her life was like as a widow, and she wrote the book. Carrie wrote the book too. So I was like, there's a similarity here. But they didn't do it for long enough. They gave her a podcast. It was like she didn't know what a bloody podcast was. The fact that Miranda Hobbs, who is somebody that has to commute from Brooklyn, well, she used to, would not have been listening to podcasts all the time, actually destroys me. She would have been absolutely all over podcasts. Like, she would have been Serial's #1 fan back in the day. And the fact that she goes to Carrie in one of the first episodes of And Just Like That, it's like, what's a podcast? This is what I'm talking about, where it feels like they've all been lobotomized. They didn't give Carrie the chance. For me, what would have made And Just Like That better is Carrie would have had this podcast already, all along the way, right?
Yeah.
Because we're missing, with And Just Like That, we're missing Carrie's narration, because Carrie's narration in Sex and the City was such a big thing to set up the story, give you your A-B plot lines, and give you the theme. I always loved that Sex and the City was written like a neat sitcom. They always had a theme, like, are men freaks? And then it turns out, well, women can be freaks too, and it wraps it up. Loved that. Nothing wrong with that. Why couldn't we have that for And Just Like That, and have her doing the podcast as a narration,
but wouldn't
into single life?
Oh no, yeah, and like, again, I take your point entirely, but I think, and this is why I think the show was destined to fail, right? I think Sex and the City, great and all as it was a product of its time. I think you would agree, right? And okay, they could have made another show, like you say, as a guide to being in your 50s and your 60s and dealing with, you know, partners dying and dealing with people starting over again and people, you know, trying to navigate, you know, the decline of beauty and all the rest of it. And like this thing of that women feel invisible when they go past a certain age. And all of it, there was so, like...
It's a rich ground there. Yeah.
Fertile ground.
Yeah.
So... But the reason why I don't think it could have worked was because in the same way that Sex and the City was a product of its time, it was made for its time. You had, like, as you say, like a sitcom where you could dip in and out. It didn't have to be serialized. Now everything has to be serialized. There has to be a fucking storyline.
But they won't let them. The thing is, there are stories there. There were storylines there that you just fucking dropped and walked away from. And you're like, sorry, what? Like,
you don't think they were planning more with them? Like,
I don't know. Like, Harry's cancer scare in this season, the last season, was treated like a fucking joke. All he kept on talking about was his balls. And it's like, Harry is a beloved character. We want to see Like, we had this great emotional resonance when Samantha was going through breast cancer.
Yeah.
I was like, why isn't Harry treated with the same reverence? Like, we saw how good, you know, the range was when in the episodes where Charlotte in Sex and the City has the miscarriage and like she, you know, has all those fertility problems. I was like, why isn't he afforded?
And then didn't Samantha get cancer as well, didn't she?
Yeah, no, in Sex and the City, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why wasn't Harry in and just like that afforded that same kind of gravity? It was just treated like a punchline. Charlotte and Harry became these characters that were just like, honk, honk, here's the joke, and completely telegraphed straight away. There was nothing serious about them. It was really disappointing. So there's all these storylines that could have like been sewn all the way through and were just completely dropped. Like Lisette. Lisette is a character that maddeningly people would be like, who's Lisette again? She's the woman, the young girl that is the Carrie Bradshaw now, supposedly, who now owns
Didn't they
her
drop
apartment.
her? Yeah, sorry.
So she completely disappeared. I thought what was going to happen with Lisette was she was going to be like the Gen Z version of Carrie, and they would rub up against each other in that way, or like Carrie would teach her things or she would teach Carrie things, and she'd be there. But they had her for two episodes in the new season,
and then
one, she completely fucking destroys Carrie's apartment where we all wanted to live. Carrie was upset in the episode, but I was devastated. I was like, what has this bitch done to your apartment? That was shocking enough as it is, but like they never utilized her enough. Like the one episode where she throws her phone and hits a guy, and it's basically like, you could throw your phone and hit a single guy. Like, it can still happen. It was lazy writing. And she's a really good actress. She was in that show Betty.
Oh, yeah.
About the female skate troupe, skateboarding troupe. Brilliant. And they really underutilized her. But there's so many things like that are just boneheaded, that have just ended and disappeared, that you just are like, why?
So we've diagnosed the problem, I think. It was just bad writing. They just didn't, they didn't care enough to like, I mean, the whole thing, but like, one of the characters, their father died already.
Twice.
Died twice.
Lisa Todd Wexley's father died twice. And I think this is the problem, right? This is my main kind of, because everything I've said here is probably, it's been said before by many other people. But this is my thing about this second death. And they have to come out and go, well, it was her stepfather. Whatever. It's about the fact that we're not paying attention anymore in one way. They think us as an audience, because we're in a slop universe, and that we don't care about details anymore because we're double screening. So we'll be flicking or like through or scrolling through our phone and not paying attention. They thought no one's going to care, and they also forgot about it. They also were like, we don't really give a shit about the details either, because who cares? And I feel that's where we're going with TV, and that really upsets me because of a franchise as brilliant as Sex and the City, to have something as major as that happen and nobody saw it, nobody cared. But I was like, is this what's happening with both of us, with studios, with writers, and with audiences not giving a shit enough anymore?
I think, right, if I was to offer not a devil's advocate opinion, but I think personally, right, this show was made purely for financial and mercantile reasons. I don't think Sarah Jessica Parker felt a fucking yen to go back to this.
I think she loves Carrie Bradshaw.
I think she loves Carrie Bradshaw. I do. I think she loves the character, but I don't think she felt a need to, like, she didn't have a story to tell. But when your man Michael Patrick King came back to her and said, okay, we're going to do a new season, she was like, great, I'm at nothing anyway, why not? And he probably felt...
It's about ease, I think, what we're saying is. It's about familiar IP.
Correct.
And laziness. And this is what I'm saying. It feeds into the writing then. It feeds into the way we view it.
And that's what I'm saying to you.
It's not important anymore.
Exactly. And this is what I'm saying to you. It felt like this was a person was set a task, and it was like, we've got to create a new version of Sex and the City. That's it. We just need to get it out there. It's just content. Like, there's so much out there. Just put it out there.
Yeah.
And it'll find its audience eventually, and blah, 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 blah. And like, when you think back to, like, it's the example I'd always use of, like, Star Trek, right? The Next Generation, they had 3 seasons of 24 episodes to find their fucking groove, right?
We don't do that anymore. We
don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore. Do you think And Just Like That was like, was the whole thing jumping the shark?
Yeah. I mean, I think...
Was it like, was it kicking it on? The point I guess what I'm trying to drive at is, do you think this show was kicked on? Was there a need for this?
I don't think there was. Like, for me, it ended... Sex and the City ended for me with Carrie Bradshaw saying, you know, the greatest relationship you'll have is with yourself. Like, at the end.
That's a brilliant ending.
Yeah, it's a great ending, because you know what? You don't know that she's going to end up with Mr. Big forever. His name flashes up on her phone, but that doesn't say, and he's selling his place in Napa, baby. But it doesn't mean they're going to be together forever. And there's something great about that. They had to replicate that at the end of And Just Like That, where you see, which touched me, I have to say, because if this is the last time I see Carrie Bradshaw, that's what I want for her, where she's dancing in her gorgeous house and around to Barry White, and she's like, the woman is not alone. She was on her own, or she wasn't on her own, but she was alone. It's nice, whatever. I was like, okay, that is nice. Yeah. But I was like, we've done that. We already did it.
You already gave us this.
We had that before. Why do we need this again? And we needed it again because the writing was so good then that they were like, that's what people want. And they kept on doing that. They kept on doing these little harken backs during And Just Like That, which made you go, oh God, I just miss Sex and the City so much.
I remember how good this was.
Because they kept on trying to engineer Miranda and Carrie having these arguments. Like, they hated each other. Like, they really fucking hated each other and Just Like That. And I'm like, why are these people friends anymore? But they were trying to harken back to two brilliant arguments that Miranda and Carrie have in Sex and the City. One of them is over Big, where she's like, I don't like who you are when you're with him.
Yeah, I remember that.
He's making dirt to you, basically. And then the second one, which I love even more, is when she's going to Paris and she's like, I can't stay. Carrie says, I can't stay in New York for you, because once I'm there, nothing changes. I'll be the single gal forever, and your life doesn't have to feel like it's changed, even though it has. Yeah. And, she's like, don't go to Paris. And she's like, well, you don't have to go to Paris with him, kind of thing. Don't you go to Paris with him. They're brilliant arguments because they feel like proper friends arguments. They feel real.
They real.
But then
you've had those conversations. I've had those conversations.
100 million times. But then when they telegraph it into And Just Like That, there's no need for it. Yeah. There's nothing has caused this. There's no revving up. There's no amping up. It's not done delicately. It's done with a sledgehammer and ineffectual. Completely. That makes you just go, God, does Carrie just hate Miranda? Why is she so horrible to her all the time? Doesn't make any sense. And there's so much like that. Like, as in characters disappearing, the Che Diaz of it all.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
Che Diaz is... Actually, to be honest, when the new season started, I was like, I'd actually take a bit of Che now. I'm craving some Che. Just to give me something.
Something to hang your hat on. Just something to claw onto a little bit.
If anybody hasn't watched it, please watch the episode where Che Diaz does the stand-up routine for her their Netflix special, which has to be one of the worst things I've ever seen committed to screen. And I don't know how they got away with it. I don't know how Sarah Ramirez agreed to do it. It's horrifying. And
I saw it.
Yeah, it gives me chills every time.
It made me like retch. Like, it's so bad.
So like, there's so many things like that for unnecessary reasons. Felt like they had to course correct with like loads of PC-ness or what they felt was PC-ness or Gen Z-ness. This fucking whole season, all of And Just Like That, they hate Gen Z. They hate Gen Z so much. It's actually horrible.
That's valid. That's fucking valid, right? What bugs me about this show, right, is that, and you've touched on all of this, there were so many fucking opportunities to look at Gen Z culture and say, hey, you know what? That's fucked up. Trad wives, porn creep, fucking the normalization of fucking sexual violence in pornography. There was so many ways and places they could have gone with it, and they just didn't. Now, I think, like, okay, are we going to say, well, like, we had the Carrie Diaries, and that lasted for whatever, like. So, like, is it a case then, do you think, that these characters are not able to interact with the current generation?
They shouldn't have to, though. I just really felt like we should... I don't...
Or should have just done away with fucking the Gen Z.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't give a fucking shit about their kids. I never wanted to see their kids. I hated the kids being part of the show. I was like, I don't...
Fuck them kids.
But it's like, for real. I was like, I don't care if Brady's having sex. Who cares if... I don't want to know that Brady's having sex. I saw him being born. I don't want to see this. So, there was this whole thing reading about Miranda saying that she used to like put condoms in his stocking.
Oh, Jesus.
From age 14 onwards. Who wants to know that? Not I. Don't care about Rock. Don't care about Lily having a relationship. Who cares? Really don't care about Aiden's potential school shooter of a son, Wyatt. Jesus, what the hell was that? Like, why was Carrie punished with that whole load of shit? Also, that whole storyline is bogus. Nobody would wait for 5 years for somebody because their kid had, smoked a joint and crashed a car? Like, and he had to go off and be with his family for 5 years?
No.
Bizarre. No contact? Absolute rubbish, and treated us like idiots. I just wanted Carrie to be single. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't fun. That's the thing. There's all this levity to Sex and the City. Like, you know, when Charlotte is first going to do anal and they all get into the back of the taxi and then they're like, go over the bump of the road. That's a preview. Brilliant. Or, you know, Mr. Pussy. Or anything.
God, Mr. Pussy. I remember that one.
Yeah,
Holy shit, that's hilarious.
Or Carrie saying, you know, to Samantha saying something about having sex somewhere, like in a restaurant or whatever. And she was like, oh, Giuliani's not going to let us do that anymore. Like, kind of shit like that. Nothing like that in the new season. They're all prudes. Like, Carrie couldn't even say sex when she was on the podcast. She didn't want to talk about sex, which was bizarre to me for a sex writer.
And there you go. And there's the thing, right? They could have, and this is the thing that bugged me about the show, was it was that, like, there was, again, ample opportunity. You know, sexuality past the age of 40. What does that look like? How does that work? Like, there's so. Do you think, like, what I'm getting from you and what I kind of feel from this show was that there was a level of contempt.
It felt like it, and it felt like because
for the audience,
for the audience, like
for the source material.
Yeah, I just think Michael Patrick King was like, "There's going to be an easy book because these guys suck up everything." Like they watched the absolute arse drizzle that was the second film, so fuck them. You know what I mean? And that's it. That's all you're going to get. That's literally all you're going to get is just these out of touch women.
Yeah.
Who are living in this, could all the world be living in a spaceship, because there is this is another thing I absolutely hate about it, because what I was saying there earlier about Sex and the City being like a 70s film, part of that is because you're seeing New York.
Yes,
I
for
loved
what it is.
the walk and talks with the girls where you'd see them walking around Battery Park or like down, you know, Fifth Avenue or whatever. Those shots are beautiful. And you could go to the restaurants that they were talking about. You could go to the bars. There's nothing like this and just like that, because it's not shot in New York. It's on a soundstage in LA or whatever.
Really?
It's horrible. It's horrible looking. It looks disgusting.
Oh no, that's bad.
And there's one episode where Carrie moves into this apartment, inexplicably moves into this apartment, and there's green screen outside which looks like Microsoft. Like, it looks like she's in Tron or something. Like, it just doesn't look like she's actually in any world, any shape or form. So it wasn't grounded in any reality at all. You felt like you were buzzing off into like, there was a thing that Charlie Brooker said that about Casualty years ago, where he said something like, Casualty is so unconnected to being like a hospital
it's like
drama,
fucking Dark Place or something.
Like, it could take place in a sheep's eye or something and you wouldn't know. That's the way I feel about it. And just like that, it exists in some space. I really feel like what I would like is like it was Carrie went into a coma and she imagined all this, and then you wake up and it's a normal Carrie, and Mr. Big has died in the shower. She just passed out.
Yeah.
And
so you want the
Bobby Ewing.
I was going to say, you want the Dallas do-over.
I do, because I feel like it's so wild. Why would she go back to Aiden after all that time? Why? I like
women do crazy. Women be crazy.
Women
bitches be crazy. All right.
She doesn't even talk about Mr. Big at all after like this whole season. She never mentions him. The love of her life, and she never mentions him. And then it's all about Aiden and saying that I've been with Aiden for 18 years. And I was like, hold on, you haven't.
Right. But you do.
There's all these continuity things that are completely wrong as well. As a mega fan, all the children's ages are wrong.
Yeah.
There's so much in the granular detail that fans would be like, hang on a sec, that didn't happen. That shouldn't happen. Blah blah blah. That's infuriating. Completely infuriating.
Do you think, right now, I'm going to say this, and please don't jump across the table and claw my eyes out, right? Do you think, I don't think you'd be ever happy.
No, I would rather they just left it.
That's what I mean. Like, I don't think there was a way they could have made this and kept everybody happy.
I never, ever wanted them to even make the films. Like, when the first film came out, I know, like, friends of mine have a kind of camp enjoyment of it.
Sure, yeah.
Sometimes we go into apartments and go, I live here, because it's just so brainless. There's a lot of stuff like that in it that is funny.
Yeah.
But they were terrible. The 2 films are genuinely awful. Although I will want to keep Carrie twirling around in wedding dresses. That was great.
Yeah.
Even though she was the most anti-bride person, all of a sudden she could twirl around.
Suddenly she's in on it.
Twirl around to Fergie in lots of wedding dresses. But anyway, I hated the 2 films. So
Right.
for me, in my brain, Sex and the City ends. And
That's it.
we never see those girls again. We don't know what happened to them.
So we're treating them just like that as...
It didn't happen. Oh my God, it can't have
block it out,
happened.
like.
It can't have happened because it's just so painful.
Yeah.
As a fan, it's been horrendous to have to keep on going back to this trough of shite. And like the other thing about it is, though, I would look forward to it in a weird way. It's like you're punishing yourself.
I was gonna say, yeah,
it's like you're in an S&M. That's the most sexual you could get, and just like that, you're in this S&M relationship with it, because it's just... It's part of my life forever. Like, I love Carrie Bradshaw as a character. She's probably one of the greatest television characters ever made. Like, you know, she's up there with Peggy Olsen. For me. Peggy Olsen is the best TV character ever.
It is.
But she's up there for all her flaws, and that's why we love her. And I think I had to go back. I had to keep on seeing how bad you can get. But I wanted to see her because I love her. Like, I did.
But that's I guess that's what I was trying to get at. Was like, was it enough to just see her?
Yes. And like through my job, I got an email from her people, and it said from the desk of Sarah Jessica Parker. And I have to say, I filled up like at my own desk because she's such a massive part of my life, like my cultural life, that I wanted the best for this character. Or not even the best. I just wanted to see her in a realistic way.
Yeah.
And I if she's twirling around to Barry White in her tiny kitchen in a massive house, it's very strange, but it kind of fits with Carrie because she used to keep her sweaters in the oven.
That's it. Yeah,
so whatever,
it makes sense that you have a small kitchen,
but like
totally.
you know, if that's where we left her, that's fine, and I don't want to think about anything that happened in between that time and how we got there. I don't want to think about Aiden licking his hand to masturbate in a truck when he had a empty pool house at his disposal. Well, that scene, I think, was the one that I went, I can't do this anymore. I was going to say, when did you tap out? Like? I didn't tap out because I watched the whole thing, but I remember that being a real signifier going, this is the drags now. And I think Sarah Jessica Parker felt like that too, because she was on Howard Stern that week of that episode dropping, and he was like, what the hell was going on there? And she said she didn't know what he was talking about. She kind of demurred and then looked really embarrassed and then was like, I didn't see it. And then loads of fans were like, what, she's not watching the episodes? She doesn't know what happened?
She was an EP on that.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
Saw everything.
So I think you can see the light kind of fading from her eyes in that very moment, going, this is not like what I was saying, say with something like Mr. Pussy in the original Sex and the City, that was done for jokes and laughs and was done in a very extreme body horror almost way.
Come on, when he's eating the
fig or the
thing.
shrimp. It's ridiculous.
Jesus.
It's supposed to be, because it was about freak show. Like that was the kind of whole premise of that episode. But this was Aiden. This was someone that's really important that we've seen all the way through those years. I don't want to see that from Aiden. You want to see that from a sub-man character that we'll never see again. Not from a really important character.
From someone disposable that can be disposed of in a comic fashion.
This was too much. And also, as I said, you have a whole pool house. Just like knock one off in there. Yeah, but why'd you go into your van?
I can't. You know, sometimes it's you know, I can't explain it. I don't know. I'm not saying he was right.
It's the gear stick of it all. But like
the diesel dick, it's a thing. Look it up. It's
I just did not. But I think that was the end for me. That was really, close to me going, what are we doing here? So much so I put it on my Instagram grid.
I remember.
And so many of my friends were like, you're disgusting. You have to take that down. I never want to think about that. And I was like, we should all think about this all the time, because we should know that this is the wrong turn that you make in a beloved franchise. The end.
No, I mean,
end on Aiden's fucking
I think I was gonna ask you another question, but genuinely I think that's the nail in the coffin. That's really the nail in the coffin. Final thoughts on the whole thing. Should have just never been made.
It should have never been made. And I feel also like there's moments in it where I was like, I just want it to be like it was. All we want is the gals having drinks and having the crack. And they did that in one episode where Carrie puts on Sade, and I was like, one of my favorite Sade songs. I was like, I knew we were like, and they're all having drinks, and that was fine. That's a tiny, tiny bit of it. But like at the end of the day, I felt like Lexi Featherston in the episode where she's like, nobody's fun anymore. What happened to New York? And, you know, I'm so bored I could die. And she falls out the window. That's what I felt like watching. And just like that. But they would never have a character like her again. They'd never do that again. Where is my show?
Jenn Gannon, thank you. That was 35 minutes of brutal...
I'm sorry. I feel desperate.
No,
so
do you know
sad.
what? You know
my
what?
heart's broken.
No, you know what? There's this fucking culture of niceness in fucking criticism at the minute. It's all bullshit. We need to be able to say things are shit. This show was shit.
It is shit.
I appreciate your honesty. Thank you for that. And that was our interview with Jenn Gannon. Thanks to Jen for coming on the show. Next week, it'll be another packed show. Not going to reveal who the guest is yet. You're going to have to wait to see who it is. Have somebody lined up. Don't know if they're going to be able to make it. Hopefully they'll be able to make it. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. And yeah, feel free to leave a comment. Don't be mean though. You know, don't be mean. Okay, you can be mean, but like, you know, constructive criticism, I guess. I don't know. I do say, and just like, I do say, you know, that sort of way a lot. Like, I admit it. I've just, the entire time of that 30-minute, that entire interview, I've just been freaking out about it. So, thank you again to that person for pointing that out. As if I wasn't already aware of my own failings. You know, that sort of way. As if I'm not that neurotic that I'm painfully aware of my failings as a journalist and as a man and as a broadcaster and as a human being, that I'm not aware of my failings. Of course I am. I'm painfully aware of them. I can't not be aware of them. Okay, right, I gotta go. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you next time.